Welcome to Ellen White Made Simple! Here we take the writings and story of Ellen White and explain them in a way that's clear, easy to follow, and practical for your life today. Before we dive into her most famous book, Steps to Christ, let's first get to know the woman behind it all. Who was Ellen White? What shaped her life? And why do her writings still matter today? This is the story of Ellen White's life, from her humble childhood to her lasting legacy. Part 1. Childhood. Ellen Gould Harmon was born on November 26, 1827, in Gorham, Maine. She was one of 8 children in a hardworking Christian family. Her parents, Robert and Eunice Harmon, raised their children with prayer and faith at the center of their lives. But Ellen's childhood wasn't easy. At 9 years old, while walking home from school, a classmate threw a stone that struck her in the face. She was left unconscious, badly injured, and never able to continue school beyond a few grades. Yet that hardship shaped her spiritual life. Ellen later wrote, "Even in my childhood, I felt that I must seek God more earnestly." Despite weakness and pain, she grew a deep love for scripture and prayer, clinging to God for strength. Part 2. Conversion and awakening. As a teenager, Ellen's faith was shaped by the Millerite movement in the early 1840s. The Millerites believed Jesus would return on October 22, 1844. Ellen and her family joined thousands in preparing for that day. But when it passed without his return, it became known as the Great Disappointment. Ellen was only 17. Like many others, she struggled with sorrow and confusion. Yet in her discouragement, she turned more deeply to Christ. In December 1844, she received her first vision. She saw God's people walking on a narrow path toward heaven, guided by the light of Christ. That vision brought hope, reminding believers that God was still leading them. Part 3. Marriage and ministry. In 1846, Ellen married James White, a young Adventist preacher. Together, they lived simply, sacrificing much to share the mission of Jesus. Throughout her life, Ellen received more than 2,000 visions and dreams. She always reminded people her mission wasn't to replace the Bible, but to point people back to it. She and James worked tirelessly, writing, preaching, encouraging small groups of Adventists. Though they faced poverty, sickness, and criticism, their dedication helped form what would become the Seventh-day Adventist Church in 1863. Ellen once said, "I am but a messenger," pointing to the Bible as the true light. Part 4. Her writings. Ellen White wrote more than 100,000 pages, letters, articles, and books. Her writings cover spirituality, education, health, prophecy, and daily Christian living. Some of her most influential books include Steps to Christ, a guide to building a personal relationship with Jesus, The Desire of Ages, a beautiful account of the life of Christ, The Great Controversy, tracing the conflict between good and evil, The Ministry of Healing, practical wisdom on health, service, and wholeness. Today, her books are translated into more than 160 languages, making her one of the most translated women author story. Part 5. Later years. Ellen's later years were marked by perseverance. In 1881, James White passed away, leaving her a widow. Still, she continued her mission for another 34 years. She traveled widely, even to Europe and Australia, helping strengthen the Adventist movement. Even in old age, she worked with determination to complete her books. On July 16, 1915, Ellen White passed away peacefully at the age of 87. At her death, she left no riches or worldly power, only a legacy of faith, courage, and writings that inspire millions today. Part 6. Her legacy. So, who was Ellen White? She wasn't a scholar with advanced degrees. She wasn't wealthy or famous. She was a humble woman with frail health and little formal education. Yet God used her mightily. Her life was dedicated to one mission, lifting up Christ and pointing people back to the Bible. Her writings remain a treasure, not to replace Scripture, but to help us apply it in everyday life. Thanks for joining us here on Ellen White Made Simple. This was just the beginning, an introduction to Ellen White's life and mission. In our next video, we'll explore her most beloved book, Steps to Christ, starting with Chapter 1, God's Love for Man. So stay tuned, subscribe, and let's keep walking this journey together, step by step. May God bless you.